So, something that I've really wanted to talk to you about. I think some men that go through divorces think that they're going to win a case if they partner themselves up with a female attorney. I think there's a part of in their mind, okay? In their mind, they believe if the judge sees them with a female attorney, maybe it makes them come across like a better guy or a better dad or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Have you seen this play out in your personal experience of a lot of men coming to you and saying, Kristen, I want a female attorney to represent me because of how it looks?
Oh yeah. And then I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or if I should take that as like a dig, but I joke with them and I'm just like, why? And I'm like, what is it about women that you're so attracted to and wanting them to represent you?
Yeah.
And their idea is, well, if I hire a woman, then it doesn't make me look like a pig. Then
Uh-huh.
I can be nice and kind and I am willing to work with women and I would never be chauvinistic and I would
Uh-huh.
never be macho or whatever word you want to use it.
Yep.
But I think that's like the biggest question is that they presume that by hiring a woman attorney, I'm going to have this, I guess, air about me to project onto them that they can deal with women and that they are the best husband or the best father. And see they can work with women. See,
Uh-huh.
they chose a
Uh-huh.
woman.
Uh-huh.
So of course that they always think that. But I don't
Do
know.
judges
Again,
fall
I
for
don't
that?
know if it
Do
works
judges
out.
really fall for that?
No. No, not at all.
Okay.
Because there are some really good male attorneys that women will choose as their attorneys, thinking that, oh, if I choose a female, everybody chooses females because it's mostly predominantly female attorneys who do divorce law.
Yeah.
Because why? Divorce is very emotional.
Yes.
Not many men want to work with emotional clients.
Hmm.
They want somebody who can get in and get out and don't have to deal with the drama, do not have to deal with the crying and the whining and, the issues that come along with family problems. So the idea that women are still in that area of law, that's why men, I think that it's easier and it'll be better for them to get a woman than a man. But I don't know if that's true anymore. I don't see that.
Well, if you lived in California, I'd be retaining you like nobody's business because I adore you.
I
But
appreciate that. I
I
can tell
will
you,
say
I am
this.
not sympathetic to some people's plight.
No,
And that's
but
the thing is I tell people all the time, I will be your biggest critic.
yes.
I will tell you like it is. I will never promise you something and I will never tell you what you want to hear because
Yes.
I will never promise you the sun, the moon, the stars, knowing that you're going to get the dirt
Yep.
because it's not going to happen.
No, but that's a good attorney. I'm sorry. I don't want a car salesman for an attorney. And unfortunately, I hate to admit it, but there are a lot of car salesman style attorneys out
Oh,
there,
yeah.
you know? And so it's one of those things where you have to be very, very particular. And you also have to vibe off of an attorney. I mean, it is a relationship,
Mhm.
especially if you're in the courts for a long time and you're coming from a high conflict situation. Your second home is going to be that court. So
Right.
you better partner with someone that you trust, that's dedicated, that's honest, that you know in your heart is wanting the best for you and your child if there's children involved and isn't looking at it as a paycheck.
I agree. And it's hard as an attorney doing this because if you have that long-standing relationship, like we're together sometimes for 2, 3 years.
Hmm?
We know each other. Like we'll talk about our families, my kids, your kids. I compare a lot of situations with clients with my own personal experience because, we live our own lives. I have a life too. I'm not just an attorney by day. Like I go home and I have my own children and their activities. So I can relate to a lot of things that parents, especially going through a divorce, are going through.
Right.
And it's hard to not sympathize with that. And
Hmm.
it's hard not to, at the end of the day, walk away and be like, okay, our relationship is done now.
Right.
Thanks for the last 3 years, but we're done. And that's why there are very strict laws as divorce attorneys with clientele. Like you can't be in a relationship with a client because in divorces, the expectation is that divorce clients are going to gravitate towards you because of how close you're going to become.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like I've seen it a few times, especially in this area where there have been colleagues of mine who have slept with their clients because they became so close.
I believe it.
And you could lose your license for that. And I just keep thinking, I'm like, keep it in your pants. Like you couldn't wait until their divorce is done.
Thank
Like,
you.
come on,
Thank you.
just wait, just 2 more minutes.
Oh my God, they need to start a reality show about divorce attorneys.
Oh, we've posed it. We have actually posed it to a
I think
couple
it's a
networks.
great idea, and I want to be a part of it if it ever comes to that,
I know.
please.
We wanted to do like a whole, the office. We kind of wanted to
Yes.
do it, but not just the office, the divorce office. And
Yes.
like, how can people get involved with that and see the drama-filled lives of all of our clients? I
Yes.
don't know about how the confidentiality part gets in there, but
That's okay. It'll get figured out at some point.
yeah, of course.
Okay, so a question that I have for you is this. Let's say the judgment is, for whatever reason, 50-50. 50 physical, 50-50 legal. Let's say you want to keep 50-50 custody, but you want to try to get 100% legal. How do you get that changed? Is it very hard to change? What kind of proof, what kind of documentation, what kind of, evidence do you need in order to go to the court and go, this parent should not have 50-50 legal. I'm okay with it still being 50-50 physical, but I want 100% legal. How do you overturn that?
It's very, very hard because the premise is if you are able to do a joint custodial arrangement with 50-50 custody, meaning like you have 50% of the time and the other person has 50% of the time, the idea is that you can co-parent. If you're having 50-50 physical custody, then the assumption is you're going to have 50-50 legal custody.
Hmm.
And legal custody is where you're making these major decisions together. So you could be great in having your child go to the other person's house because it's just being at the house, but making these major decisions, religion, education, medical, that's where people fight. If, for example, you cannot co-parent, where you can't do the 50-50 type of decision-making authority, that's where we have these backups of, well, who gets final say? So
Hmm.
you can do it where it may not be you have sole legal custody and you do joint physical. You can still do it as joint physical and joint legal, but one parent has final say over these major decisions.
Okay.
That would probably be the recommendation I would have for somebody in that situation. Whereas you don't want to take away those biological rights from the parent and be like, oh, well, I don't want you to ever be involved in these major decisions. You want it to be where you have a right to talk about it. You have a right to let's have a conversation and let's bounce some ideas about it. But if you and I can't come to an agreement, I'm the more level-headed in the situation. I'm the one that's looking out for the more of the best interest for our kid, not my interest, but our kid's interest. That's where I should have final say. And that's what I would recommend somebody doing.
Now, can you just request the court add in that as a provision, or do you have to, file an RFO for something like that?
If it's not already in an agreement that you have, then you would have to file a modification to get that added and to then ask the court to modify whatever your provision is to include that language.
Do you have to have some kind of proof on why you're requesting something like that?
Yeah. So if you're looking for a modification, you would have to then go and provide whatever proof. Like, say, for example, your child has special needs and the teacher's recommending that they get an evaluation for, say, like ADHD or to get medication or whatever the reasoning is. If you go to a parent teacher conference and you have this teacher putting it in writing, and one spouse says, yeah, absolutely, I want to agree to get the evaluation done, and the other ex spouse says, forget it, my kid has no problems,
Hmm.
then that would be a good piece of evidence to show that one parent is not taking that into consideration or not agreeing with something that's recommended by a third party professional. Same thing with like medical issues. If I've had this issue where one child needed glasses and hearing aids, the one parent would not take that child to a doctor to get glasses because they did not want their child to be called Four Eyes.
Oh my God.
Swear to God, that was a case. And we had to argue to a judge that this parent was not looking out for the best interest of the child, but
Correct.
only their own self.
Correct.
And so that parent, even though they could still have joint 50 physical, that kid can still go to the other parent. Is it something that that parent has their best interest at heart?
Right.
And the courts made the decision and said, no, the other parent should have the final say because they're looking out for that child. And so mom was able to then go to the doctor, get the kid glasses, get the kid hearing aids, but the parent just didn't want that stigma.
Oh.
So that's a situation where you would have to have proof that this is what's recommended for your kid, whether it be a doctor, a teacher, a principal, whoever it is, that this is what's recommended. I'm going for it. I'm taking that into consideration, but my ex is not.
Mm.
And so that's how you'd have to do that.
What if you have a third party already involved in your child's life, say a play therapist, and
Oh,
they're
the therapists are great.
They're considered
Therapists are
a
great.
third party, they're a mandated reporter, they're a child advocate, they're a third party, neutral third party. If let's say one parent's fighting the other parent on where the child goes to school or which parent's more available, and you go to the play therapist as the parent that's more available and you go, "Hey, this is a ridiculous fight. Will you get involved?" And you get a letter from the play therapist, will the courts take that into consideration?
The problem is that when you're trying to negotiate, therapists, they're the hard sell because therapists are supposed to testify. But
Mm-hmm.
how do you testify and break that trust with the kid that you're seeing and that you're mentoring or that whatever you're doing with the therapist? But that child, you're now telling this person your secrets and you're voicing what's happening in mom's house and what's happening in dad's house. And then the therapist is supposed to come and tell the whole world, including mom and dad, because mom and dad are entitled to sit there and cross-examine that therapist. So now they're breaking that confidentiality with that kid. Now, sometimes the kids won't go back, but the letters is hard
Okay.
because letters are considered hearsay.
Mm,
It's the testimony that's important. The
okay.
problem is that you also, in New York, our rules of evidence do also include that a therapist can't ever testify as to what a kid said unless it rose to the level of abuse or neglect.
Mm,
So if the therapist was told by the child that my mom hits me and, spanked me and left marks and here's a picture of it and whatever, then the therapist can testify that this is what the child said. But
okay.
if the child just sat there and said, "Oh yeah, I love mommy, I love daddy, but daddy's never home and I'm with the babysitter and I only live with I'm seeing Gma or grandma or whoever you want to say," the therapist can't say anything like that to a judge. Can't say anything like that to the court. So how I get around that is I get an attorney for the kids.
So is
I
that
get the attorney
considered
for
a
the
child
kids,
advocate
then
lawyer?
have the advocate to call the therapist who can then advocate for the kid.
That makes total
So
sense.
there's ways to go around it, but you have to get a good attorney for the children as well. Because if you have an attorney for these children who don't give a crap and they're just sitting there and getting a paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
they're not really representing what these kids want. And that is also a very, very sad thing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to conclude this with a really big question. You and
I
I
don't
have
know, I
had
should
this.
be afraid or not.
No, no, no. I don't think anything intimidates you or scares you, Kristen, but
No,
that's just a guess.
no.
No, you produced a short reel a while back now, sometime last year that I saw, and I thought, man, I got to put her on the spot and ask her what the reasons are on why she feels this way and what her experiences have been.
Okay.
You had a reel about certain occupations that men are in regards to red flags. Obviously there's not bad apples or there are bad apples in every industry, but are there certain occupations or line of work that men are in that should be looked at as a yellow or red flag for women if they're dating them and potentially want to marry them in regards to abuse, infidelity, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can name, like, I could go down the list,
Let's do it.
but so in my experience, the ones that tend to be the most controlling, the constant cheaters, the ones that are very overbearing, can be high in domestic violence cases, police,
Hmm.
corrections, firemen, pilots.
Hmm.
I mean, the list can go to military is a big one,
Hmm.
but they are the top professions that you will see all of those things across the board. Adultery is huge.
Hmm.
Abuse is huge. Cheating is so vast in there, and the control.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's because of the militaristic type of personality that most of these professions have.
Right.
If you look at them, they're civil servants, right? You have the police and you have the military and COs and whatnot, but they all have this belief that they are macho and can be very manly and that they rule the roost. And that's where you'll see that they'll go and cheat on their spouse constantly. And I'm not saying that every single person does. Please don't get me wrong.
I agree.
But across the board, it's that those lines of professions and those lines of work that create and have the most fluidness of these issues.
Hmm.
And the domestic violence is where you'll see those a lot too. And I sometimes feel like they think they're above the law because they're in a position of authority
Yep.
where they have connections, and a lot of their buddies will turn a cheek and just not care. So a lot of women are afraid to bring that to their attention and report their spouses because then it affects them financially, and they know that it's not going to go anywhere. So, like the controlling is one of the biggest because you'll have these spouses who track their phones, want to know who they're hanging out with, want to know where they're going, will violate their own privacy. They want to know every minute of every day what their spouse is doing. And if they find one little bit that's out of place, that's when they can lose their shit.
Oh, it's very unfortunate. I think a lot of it also is societal views. And I think, unfortunately, certain lines of work are looked at as, heroes or,
Sure.
what have you. And yes, we need men in those lines of work. But I have personally seen as well, and this is why I wanted to ask you, a lot of my amazing girlfriends go through some very traumatic divorces and very abusive separations from men that are in
Sure.
these lines of work. And you and I are probably going to get some hate. You and
Oh,
I are
yeah.
probably going to get some major comments from women that are married to maybe some good ones. And I know there's good ones out there because I also have my girlfriends that are married to some good ones. But I just hate to say it when I hear these horror stories about what some of these women are going through. A lot of the times, these men are in uniform.
Yeah. And there are always going to be good eggs and bad eggs,
Yep.
always.
Yep.
And I agree with you. I get hate all the time on it. But
Hmm.
my husband is the best policeman ever. He would never do those things.
Right.
He would never treat me like that. He treats me like a princess. And you know what? I'm so happy for you that you
Same.
found somebody to treat you like that.
Yes.
You got the great one. I'm
Yes.
so happy. Keep that person.
Right.
But there are the ones that aren't.
Yes.
And that's where I come in some respect because I have to either help one of them, either the husband or the wife in the situation. And it's very difficult if I'm representing the man and I know that these things are happening.
Hmm.
But it's also very hard for me to represent the woman when I know these things are happening. And I sit there and go, but why didn't you do anything?
Right.
Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you report it? Why didn't you do anything?
Right.
And the answer is because I didn't want to get them jammed up, or I didn't want to lose his income, and I didn't want him to lose his job, or I knew nothing was going to happen. And it's very, very hard to see those kind of things.
It is. And I think a lot of the times, too, those women are fear based,
Oh, yeah.
very fear based,
Oh, absolutely.
you know?
And I
So
wish that it wasn't like that. I
I
truly wish
agree.
it was not like that.
I agree.
But I'm not even sure how to fix it anymore. I
Mm-mm.
mean, how do you vet somebody when you're in this la la love scene? Like, you
Right.
don't know what your future is going to be like, and you don't know what this person's going to be. Because when you're dating, most people are they're on their best behavior. They're
Right.
not going to show you their true colors for the most part before you get married and have a family.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a
And
lot of the times these men that withhold their skeletons in their closet, it takes one thing to trigger it. But I think they're able to hold up their end of the bargain for a little while until real life stressors set in, and then that's when I think the mask comes off.
yeah, I think that that also is true and it's a factor. But I also think that and I say men because it's mostly men type of professions, but they also go through so much during their career that
Right.
they've taken on so many years of experience over time, it hardens them.
Yes.
And not that that's an excuse, but it does change somebody's composition and their personality and their mentality. And they may have been the best man ever in the beginning of your relationship, but people change, life happens,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, your relationship could go downhill from there.
Very true. Kristen Farris, I love having you on this podcast. You're one of my most favorite guests. I've just
Well,
connected
thank
with
you.
you off camera too on personal levels, and I'm just always appreciative of your time because I know what a busy lady you are.
And I appreciate that. I want to become a regular. I'm telling you, we should just do a regular series.
I'm so up for that. I feel like our chemistry and you and I are always on the same page. And yeah, I'm just very, very grateful to have you a part of this podcast. So thank you as
Me
always
too.
for your
Thank you
time.
so much. I really appreciate it.